Welcome to Debbie's Grill, where we talk about issues that matter to the state, void of politics, fear, or favor. Former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Mike Oquaye, has once again questioned Ghana's heavy dependence on the International Monetary Fund, arguing that the country's repeated engagement with the fund have yielded little to no lasting economic benefit. Speaking at the Institute of Economic Affairs Policy Dialogue series on Ghana's natural resources, Professor Oquaye said successive IMF programs have failed to bring the desired economic recovery and transformation Ghana has long sought for. According to him, Ghana's reliance on IMF prescriptions over the decades has not produced sustainable growth, but has instead imposed restrictions, policies that weaken innovations and limit the government's fiscal flexibility. He argued that it was time for the country to rethink its approach to economic management and see homegrown solutions anchored in the effective use of abundant natural resources. So Ghana is currently implementing its 17th IMF-supported program, a $3 billion extended credit facility aimed at restoring macroeconomic stability and ensuring debt sustainability. I think this is not a big news though, but it's quite sad because we have all the natural resources. We have everything that can make us enrich ourselves and even become a hub where we can as well lend money to other countries. But it's quite sad because we have the gold, we have the bauxite, we have the diamond. In fact, we have everything. But then we still go begging for arms. And that is why I sometimes feel a bit pissed when I see people saying that Ghana is beyond aid. We are beyond aid. We always say this. But we also see ourselves at the mercies of other countries, begging for their help. And IMF has now become a go-to platform for the country Ghana. That is where we go for support. And going for support from the IMF means that whatever they tell you, you should do. You don't just go for the money. There is a contract you have to sign. They give you policies to follow. You are being restricted on things to do and things not to do in your own country. But that is what it has become. Not knowing who to blame, our leaders, of not managing our resources very well. Because you see, it's sad. We mine gold here, but we don't refine those gold in this country. The gold is being sent to other countries, not only gold, even cocoa. Aside some 2 or 3 private companies or institutions that actually are into processing gold into other Ghana-made chocolate and chocolate biscuits in this country. It's being sent outside the country. For the past how many years now, I thought Milo was made in Ghana. I was thinking that we process it here. Not knowing I was deceiving myself all along. We don't process cocoa here. Gold, no. Bauxite, no. But we have everything. Even oil. The land is blessed. The land Ghana is very blessed. Because the land is very fertile and rich. But the people living on the land are not feeling the richness of what they have. And every time it has to do with IMF. Every second it has to do with IMF. In fact, we cannot even sit down and think of measures or solutions that can help us as a country. How well can we manage our resources? What are we to do? Because trust me, if those resources are being transported into other countries that process it into finished goods, they take like 99% and you're being given only 10% out of something that belongs to you. How do you expect to progress as a country with this kind of behavior or attitude. Because you don't have the machines and everything to process whatever you have in its raw state. You have no other option than to send it to other countries where they have everything. And when they are done, they take 99% and you are being given 10%. And that 10%, you have to share it among the development or the developmental projects you want to do. Those 10% that get into our coffers, some has to be pushed into the educational sector, some has to be pushed into the health sector, some has to be pushed into roads. How can we develop as a country? How can we progress as a country with this kind of mindset? And the debt we are owing IMF, I'm not sure we can pay. This has to do with generations upon generations coming and we not being able to pay this money. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. Sometimes when you sit down and then you want to think about certain things, if you're not careful at a tender age, you'll be diagnosed with BP. Because we have almost everything. Even if, let's not even compare Ghana to Western countries. Let's compare Ghana to even some African countries. I think when God was actually creating the world, He actually made Ghana in such a way that Ghana will become a hub that will help other countries. And so in God's own wisdom, He gave us everything. But the leaders who are managing the affairs of these resources have done it in such a way that it's to their own benefit. So where we've gotten to as a country, can't we come up with industries and resource these industries that can refine this gold we have, that can refine the bauxite, process the cocoa, and all these resources into something that will be useful to us as a country? Wouldn't it be nice if we stop this importation of 90% of the things we consume in this country and then start producing our own with the resources we have and then export it to other countries? We will make a lot of money. And that can also save us and prevent us from being slaves to other countries. And I believe that because we've refused to think, that is why we see ourselves in this situation. And sometimes it saddens my heart because it's not as if our leaders don't know all this. They know it. But I feel like they just don't want to do it. With reasons best known to themselves. They just don't want to do it. Ghana is almost getting to, if I'm not lying, 64, 65, 66. And we still can't even boast of anything. On every 6th March, we celebrate Independence Day. Wouldn't it be nice if we celebrate Independence Day and also be proud of ourselves of being really independent as a country? We lie to ourselves and then we raise the flag of Ghana. We sing the national anthem, deceiving ourselves. But deep within, we know we failed as a country. The leaders know they failed themselves and they failed the citizens of this country. And then we'll go singing God Bless Our Homeland Ghana, reciting the pledge. But here we are, nothing to show. It's very, very sad. So with what the former Speaker of Parliament is saying, if we can actually put this into consideration and coming up with proactive measures or steps that will help us as a country, wouldn't it be nice? How will you feel if you get to other countries and then anything you get to buy has to do with made in Ghana? Even things that are made in Ghana here have inscriptions of made in China. Because we don't really even believe in ourselves. It's not starting now. It started way back. It's about time we wake up as a country. The deed has already been done. We can always turn on a new page. If we are ready as a country, we can do this. We can do it. And as I said, it's about time we wake up from our slumber and start to face reality. Don't pretend as if you are not seeing the reality glaring right in front of you. Let's face the reality as it is and work towards it. And it's going to help us as a country. Thank you for making time with me on Debbie's Girl.